Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Anita and I'm so happy you're here. Today we're talking about one of the biggest online business opportunities that people are still asking about in 2026, eBay dropshipping. Maybe you've seen videos claiming you can make thousands in your first month. Maybe you've heard people say eBay dropshipping is dead. So, which is true? And honestly, the truth sits somewhere in the middle, and the numbers back that up. The global dropshipping market is worth several $100 billion this year alone, and depending on which report you look at, it's climbing somewhere between 20 and 25% every single year. That's not a slowing industry, that's an industry accelerating. At the same time, most brand new stores still don't turn a real profit in their first 12 months. Some research puts that in first-year success rate as low as 10%. So both of those things are true at once. The opportunity is genuinely bigger than it's ever been. And so is the number of people trying to grab a piece of it without doing the work. That gap between the size of the opportunity and the size of the failure rate is exactly why this episode matters. I don't want you chasing a headline. I want you making an informed decision. Today's episode, I'm going to explain what eBay dropshipping really is, whether it's still worth starting, the biggest mistakes beginners can make, and the steps you can take if you're thinking about starting your own online business. So grab a notebook because this episode is packed with practical tips. Let's get started. First of all, let's keep it simple. eBay dropshipping is a business model where you sell products on eBay without keeping those products in your own home or warehouse. When a customer places an order, you arrange for a supplier to ship the item directly to the customer. Means you don't need to buy a room full of stock before making your first sale. Now, that sounds easy. But remember this, even if you don't store the products, you're still running a real business. You're responsible for creating good listings, answering customer questions, handling returns, and making sure buyers receive what they ordered. That's why I always say, this isn't a shortcut to getting rich. It's a business that rewards consistency, organization, and good customer service. Now let's get specific, because eBay's rules in 2026 are stricter than a lot of people realize, and getting this wrong can cost you your entire store. eBay only allows one version of dropshipping. You're allowed to fulfill an order through a real wholesale supplier or manufacturer, someone who ships the item straight to your customer, while you stay the seller of. That means you're still the one handling customer service, returns, and the overall buying experience. What eBay explicitly bans another retailer, like Amazon or Walmart, and having them ship it directly to your buyer. That version is called retail arbitrage, and eBay actively watches for it. How do they catch it? A few tells give sellers away every time. Mismatched tracking numbers that don't match your stated shipping location, packaging that shows somebody else's branding instead of yours, or customers are reporting an invoice from a totally different company inside the box, and out-of-stock rates that spike because of your supplier's. You're relying on a retailer's inventory instead of a proper wholesale account. If eBay flags your account for any of this, they can pull your listings or restrict your selling privileges, sometimes with very little warning and very little room. So the takeaway is simple. Source from a genuine wholesaler, stay the seller of record, and handle your returns. Own shipping and returns. Do that, and you're operating well within the rules with nothing to worry about. Probably the question everyone wants answered. Is eBay dropshipping still profitable? My answer is yes, it can be, but it's not as easy as it was years ago. Competition is higher, customers expect faster shipping, and marketplaces have stricter rules. Sellers who succeed today aren't the ones looking for quick money. They're the ones who learn the platform, choose products carefully, and keep improving over time. If you're expecting instant success, you'll probably be disappointed. You're willing to learn and stay patient, you have a much better chance of building something worthwhile. Let's put some real numbers behind everything we just talked about, because vague promises of profit don't help anybody. Sellers running a compliant business. eBay dropshipping store typically see net margins somewhere between 10 and 25%, and that's before you factor in your own time and effort. Picture someone doing $5,000 a month in total sales. After every fee, every supplier cost, and every expense, they might clear somewhere around $700 to $1,200 in actual profit. Now picture someone running this full-time, doing $50,000 a month. That seller can clear several $1,000s in net per profit every single month, assuming their operations are tight. And speaking of fees, eBay takes a final value fee of around 13% on most categories, plus a small additional charge on every single order. So when you're pricing your post products, build those numbers into your math from day one, instead of discovering them the hard way after your Knowing your real margin, not just your revenue, is what separates a hobby from an actual business. Feels exciting on a screen. Profit is what actually pays your bills. If you're interested in starting, here are 5 simple steps. Step 1, create your eBay seller account and complete your profile professionally. Step 2, learn eBay's seller policies. Understanding the rules is essential for building a sustainable business. Before you list your first product, it's worth spending real time vetting your supplier, because this single decision determines almost everything else about your business. Ask for proof that they're a genuine wholesaler or manufacturer, not a retail website simply wearing a different name. Order a sample yourself before you ever list it, so you know exactly what your customer will actually receive in their hands. Confirm their shipping times upfront in writing, because slow or unpredictable delivery is one of the fastest ways to rack up complaints and tank your seller metrics. Check that their packaging is neutral, with no outside branding that doesn't match your store or confuse your buyer. And ask how they handle returns, because under eBay's policy, you're responsible for accepting returns according to your stated policy, even if your supplier refuses to take the item back. A little diligence here, at least at the very beginning, saves you from account problems down the road, and it protects the trust you're trying to build with every single buyer who takes a chance on your store. Step 3, research products with steady demand. Let's talk about product research for a second, because chasing every trend, focus on items that people regularly search for. This is where most beginners waste the most time. A lot of new sellers pick products based on a feeling, but something they personally like, or something they saw go viral once on social media. That's not a strategy. The sellers who actually build something sustainable treat product research like data work instead of a gut feeling. Look at consistent search volume over months, not a single spike. They check how many other sellers are already listing the same item and at what price before they ever commit to a supplier. They read existing reviews on similar listings to find out exactly what customers complain about, because that complaint is often a hint at a better version of the same product. And increasingly, sellers are using AI-powered research tools to scan thousands of listings at once, patterns a human would take weeks to notice on their own. None of this guarantees a hit product. Nothing does. But it dramatically improves your odds compared to picking something because it looked cool in a video. Steady, boring, consistent. Demand will almost always outperform a flashy trend that disappears in a month, especially once you're the 5th seller trying to ride the same wave. Step 4. Write clear product titles, honest descriptions, and use high-quality images where you're allowed to. Step 5. Start small. Don't rush to list hundreds of products. Learn how the process works first. Then grow as your confidence and experience increase. Remember, every successful business starts with one sale. Now let's talk about mistakes. The first mistake is expecting overnight success. Many people quit after a few weeks because they don't become profitable immediately. Real successes take time. The second mistake is ignoring customer service. People remember how you treat them. Answer questions politely, communicate clearly, handle problems professionally. One more thing worth mentioning, because it ties directly back to customer service. When a buyer messages you with a problem, and eventually someone will, How you respond in that moment matters more than almost anything. Acknowledge their issue first, before you explain your policy. Buyers want to feel heard before they want to hear a rule. Give them a clear next step, whether that's a replacement, a refund, or a timeline for when their item will arrive, rather than leaving them guessing. And follow up once the issue is actually resolved, not just once you've replied. That follow-up is often the difference, and it's between a one-star review and a buyer who comes back to your store again. Remember, on a platform initiative like eBay, your reputation isn't just a nice to have. It's tied directly to your seller metrics, your visibility in search results, and ultimately your ability to keep selling at all. Treat every single customer interaction as something that either builds your account or slowly chips away at it. There's no interaction that's actually neutral. It's always moving you one direction or the other. The third mistake is not tracking your costs. Don't just celebrate sales. Know your fees, expenses, and actual profit. Revenue looks exciting. There's one more mistake worth calling out on its own, because it's specific to eBay and it catches a lot of well-meaning beginners. Some new sellers list a product, then buy that same item from a big retail. Cite the moment an order comes in and have it shipped straight to the customer. It might look and feel exactly like dropshipping, and in a way, it is. But on eBay specifically, that version isn't allowed. It's called retail arbitrage, and it's one of the fastest ways to get your account restricted or permanently suspended, often with very little cart. Warning: it doesn't matter if your customer is happy with the product. If eBay traces the shipment back to a retail source, you're in violation regardless of the outcome. Stick to real wholesale suppliers instead, even if it takes a little longer to set up in the beginning. It protects your account, it protects your metrics, and it protects the reputation you're working so hard to build, one sale at a time. Finally, never stop learning. Online selling changes constantly. Successful sellers keep adapting. Here's something worth paying close attention to as you build your own store in 2026. Sellers than ever are leaning on automation and artificial intelligence to run the back end of their business, and it's quickly becoming the difference between sellers who scale and sellers who burn out. Recent industry data shows that the large majority of successful dropshippers now use automated order processing, syncing inventory, and routing orders without touching a spreadsheet, and that alone cuts manual errors dramatically. A growing share of sellers also use AI tools for customer support, letting a chatbot handle over to common questions about shipping times, order status, or returns before a human ever steps in. Sellers use AI for product research, spotting rising demand before a product actually peaks, instead of chasing a trend after everyone else already has. This doesn't replace you, and it doesn't replace good judgment. It simply means the sellers thriving and in 2026 are spending less time on repetitive busy work and more time on strategy, product research, and actually talking to their customers. If you're just getting started, you don't need every tool on day one. Pick one single process to automate first, prove to yourself that it works, and then build outward from there. There's also a bigger shift happening in how people actually discover products in the first place, and it's worth understanding before you build your store around it. It's an old playbook. For years, dropshippers won by targeting. Now that era is over. Ad platforms now largely decide who sees your product for you, using their own algorithms instead of your manual targeting. Choices. What that means in practice is that your creative, the actual video or image someone sees, has become the viewer now do more work than a perfectly built audience ever could. At the same time, shopping habits are shifting again. More buyers are discovering products through AI-powered search and recommendations instead of typing a search term the old-fashioned way. Sellers who write clear, honest, detailed listings, the kind we talked about earlier in this episode, are the ones showing up favorably in those AI-driven results. Because clarity is exactly what these systems are built to reward. This means you need to chase every new platform feature the moment it launches. It means the fundamentals we've already covered, honest listings, real suppliers, fast responses, and consistent execution matter more now than they ever have, not less, even as the tools around you keep changing. If there's one thing I want you to remember from today's episode, it's don't chase easy money. Build valuable skills. Skills like communication, problem solving, customer service, and consistency will help you. Almost any business, not just eBay dropshipping. If you decide to start, be patient with yourself. Every expert was once a beginner. Keep learning, keep improving, and most importantly, keep showing up. Before we wrap up, let's zoom out for just a second and look at where this is all heading. The global dropshipping market keeps climbing toward the $1 trillion mark within the next few years, and more of that growth every single year is being driven by automation and artificial intelligence rather than by sheer traffic or ad spend. But here's what the raw numbers don't say loudly enough. The sellers winning on eBay right now aren't necessarily the ones with the biggest advertising budget or the flashiest store. They're the ones who treat their account health like a real, protectable asset. They stay inside eBay's rules without cutting corners. They vet their suppliers carefully before ever hitting publish on a listing. And they use smart tools to buy back their own time so they can focus on the parts of the business only they can do. That is compliance plus consistency plus the right technology is what separates a store that lasts for years from one that doesn't. Quietly disappears by month 3. Keep that combination in mind as you move forward, because it matters far more than any single hack or shortcut ever will. And one last note on where eBay fits into your bigger picture. Plenty. Successful sellers treat eBay as a proving ground rather than a permanent home. They test products there first because the traffic already exists and the setup cost is low. Once a product proves itself with real sales, some sellers move that winning product over to their own branded store, where they control the customer relationship instead of renting it. There's nothing wrong with staying on eBay long-term either. Plenty of sellers do exactly that. And, build a great business. Just know both paths exist, and you get to choose the one that fits your goals. So here's a practical challenge before you close this episode. Don't try to do everything we covered today at once. Pick one thing. Maybe it's finally vetting your current supplier properly. Maybe it's calculating your real margin after fees instead of just watching revenue roll in. Maybe it's setting up one small piece of automation so you're not manually updating a spreadsheet every single night. Whichever one you pick, give it a full week of focused attention before you move to the next thing. Sellers who try to fix their pricing, their supplier relationships, their customer service, and their marketing all in the same week will usually end up doing all 4. Slow, deliberate progress beats a scattered burst of effort almost every time in this business. And if you're not sure which one to start with the supplier. Everything else, your margins, your shipping times, your customer complaints, traces back to that one decision, more than any other single factor in this entire business. If you found today's episode helpful, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications so you never miss future videos about online business, side hustles, and making smarter financial decisions. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever thought about starting an eBay business? Or do you already have? Question 1? Leave your answer in the comments below and let's continue the conversation. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anita, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care, stay motivated, and keep building your future.